I had a lot of nightmares when I got back.
A harrowing journey for one Manitoba residential school survivor as she goes back to the school she was forced to attend as a child. Susan Caribou was only 5 years old when she attended Guy Hill Residential School, 25 kilometers northeast of the Pas in northwestern Manitoba from 1970 to 1978. 45 years later, she's now made 2 separate trips to the site of the former residential school she was forced to attend.
I still have a hard time talking about residential school, even though I'm on my healing journey.
Guy Hill opened in the late 1950s and was a Catholic-run school. Caribou says a radar search was conducted on the grounds of the former school and says 241 anomalies were discovered, which brought back a flood of emotions and triggers.
Now I'm wondering if out of the 241, if those were some of my friends that didn't make it home.
Caribou made the journey with other residential school survivors, all of whom were forced to attend the same school. Shirley David is herself a residential school survivor, attending for 13 years in British Columbia. She is now a therapist with the Indian Residential School Survivor Society. She is currently going through her own journey and says she's a thriver, not a survivor.
Everybody has a trigger, but we deal with it in different ways. You know, we can't judge anybody about their triggers. It always depending on their history, depending on their healing journey, depending on what happened to them in the residential school. So we have our own truths. We all have our own different stories.
Angela White with the Indian Residential School Survivor Society in BC says it's extremely important to continue to provide 24/7 accessible supports for survivors across the country.
Finding the safe spaces for people to grieve. And when I say grieve, it's grieving the loss of their family, grieving the loss of their childhood, grieving the loss of their innocence, and grieving the loss of being torn away from their communities.
Caribou says she is learning things about herself that she never knew before and is planning a third journey at the end of August.
A lot of us are still living the residential school life in our own home, and it affected our children. And now it's affecting our grandchildren.
In Winnipeg, Alex Karpa, City News.